Wow, 2 videos in a row, look at me go. The reason I'm making this video is because I don't think enough people are talking about them. Let me know if you knew about the story in the comments, but I think it's being overshadowed by the story of Mohammed Ben Sulayem, president of the FIA, reducing fines for cursing and swearing along the FIA championships. We also have the triple header weekend, so there's a lot of motorsport news, driver stuff, so I think the story got a little bit buried. Let me move myself to the corner. The FIA president is proposing changes to the governing body, and this is an article by BBC Sport, linked in the description below. Thank you, Andrew Benson, for writing this. If you don't know, a lot of journalists are in a gray area when it comes to writing certain truths about the team and the FIA in fear of getting their credentials revoked. BBC Sport has seen a confidential document containing the proposed revisions to the FIA's governing body document, which are set to be voted on at a meeting at the FIA General Assembly next month. So this was written May 13th, so the General Assembly meeting will be next month in June. I appreciate that Andrew starts off with saying about no critic was prepared to comment on record about the changes, but then he does quote them, which is great. Most proposals aim at some sort of consolidation of power, trying to eliminate independent checks and balances. Another said the document was very cleverly written. Oh, this is a good one. A worrisome concentration of power. Awesome. I know this article is going to hit hard when we have a worrisome concentration of power. So we start with the big one, according to Andrew Benson, that the most controversial proposal is one that dictates must not be anything in the record of the candidates standing for the election as members of the presidential list that calls into question their professional integrity. Makes sense. You don't want an asshole for president. I don't want an asshole for FIA president. I want to make sure that their backgrounds are looked into. I see nothing wrong with that. Andrew then goes to denote that the list of presidential candidates and their teams are monitored by the FIA nominations committee. If they find any ethical issues with it, it would go to the FIA's ethics committee. Both of the nominations committee and the ethics committee are currently controlled by FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem. If you don't remember, I believe about a year ago, he let go of those who were in the ethics committee for investigating him. And now he is president of the ethics committee, or running the ethics committee, I should say, with his allies. So he's going to be investigating people running against him and reviewing the nominations list as well, because that is not a conflict of interest whatsoever. I can't say it any more sarcastically. In combination with the FIA's code of ethics, Andrew writes, this could appear to be targeted at Carlos Sainz, the rally legend who's declared his interest in running for president in December. Which, again, side note, I think Carlos Sainz OG, or Carlos Sainz Sr., however you'd like to refer to him, running for FIA president does make a lot of sense. He has a lot of connections to OEMs, a lot of connections to racing series. He's been a racing legend. I also selfishly think he would talk about Dakar more, and I love Dakar, and I wanted to gain more popularity. However, back to the article. The code of ethics dictates that parties of the FIA shall avoid any conflicts of interest and must disclose any situation that could lead to such a conflict. He is the father of Formula 1 driver Carlos Sainz Jr., Carlos Sainz. So obviously, in theory, as Andrew also writes, that the ethics committee could say this is a conflict of interest, father and son, even though there's been many conflicts of interest before, and that's never seemed to have been an issue till right now, when you're running against Mohammed Ben Sulayem. The next really good one is changes to the Senate composition. Currently, the FIA Senate consists of 16 members, 12 of which are defined in the statutes as representatives of the president, his team, and members of 2 world councils for sport and mobility and tourism. The final 4 are proposed by the president, but then confirmed by the other 12 members of the Senate. This is making sense. I'm on board. MBS would like to propose that the final 4 would be appointed by the president, which is him, in case we're not following along, with no oversight from the other members. He says the reason given for proposing this change is to allow more flexibility in having the expertise required for varied topics. Andrew states really quickly that there's already an Article 18.4, which appears to cover this. It allows the Senate to invite other members to join in the study of any specific question. So they don't have to be in the Senate. The Senate could just invite them to discuss these topics that you might have questions about, especially varied ones, as MBS says. One source close to the situation says, this was so clearly poor governance that the boldness is surprising. And this is why I'm making this video. The boldness is so surprising that I should have more power. I run these 2 committees and I should review the nominations and ethics complaints. I want to nominate the other 4 members. It's very much an I situation, and there's no we, the FIA, we should do this together. Again, it seems like a huge power grab for an FIA governing motorsport body. Other ones includes changes to the ethics and other committees. So it proposes that a 4-year term of office of the members of the audit, ethics, and nominations committees be brought into line with that of the president. But as Andrew does note, and we talked about earlier, Ben Sulayem sacked the heads of the audit and ethics committees after they were involved in investigations to him and his office. The fact that that moment didn't ring alarm bells everywhere was wild. We've also have changes to the World Council, which is the organization's legislative body, and a critic says it's to stack with the people that he wants. And the last one seems to be election timing, that if you want to declare your run for FIA president, you must do so now 49 days in advance, and previously it was 21 days. The reason given that it doesn't give the nominations/the ethics committee enough time to investigate and review all the people on the nomination list and their team. And just as a reminder, he restructured race control after the whole Abu Dhabi incident, which is like, okay, this makes sense. It seemed to be going well in 2022. We did have the whistleblower complaint. Whistleblower stated that Mohammed Ben Sulayem told FIA officials to declare Las Vegas Strip circuit unsafe for racing and not to certify the circuit. He was also investigated for allegedly attempting to intervene the results of the 2023 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Then we have the driver swearing punishments, which we all know about, and he rolled them back, and I just like to remind people that he created the issue and then semi-rectified it to make himself look like a hero. So don't fall for that smokescreen. And then I love when the huge chunk of your Wikipedia page is governance issues, as you are an FIA president. Now you might be asking, what can we possibly do as motorsport fans? The FIA is comprised of 245 motoring and motorsport club members in 149 countries, which means you can reach out to those motorsport councils, those clubs, etc. Just be like, hey, not a big fan of this. Make sure you're polite and respectful, please. And I think talking about it is important, which is why I made this video, because I feel like we're not talking about that article enough. Or maybe my algorithm's all wrong. I'm just gonna make one to do my due diligence. The next issue is some jabroni is gonna tell me that this is gonna do nothing because it's not hurting their pocket. Then fine. Unsubscribe from F1 TV. And can I say this? Will YouTube get mad at me? Yeah, people have said worse things on YouTube. Then don't watch Formula One through broadcast partners or F1 TV. Don't buy officially licensed merch. There's plenty of amazing creators who have amazing merch on Etsy that don't make it look like you're working on the car any second. And these aren't perfect, no, but these are the tangible ways I can think of that you can kind of protest, make your voice heard, so it's not just like, oh yeah, that guy is bad, and then you just keep scrolling. Will this change anything? Who knows? But the information is out there.